The emergency beacon cut through the silence of hyperspace, like a plasma cutter through hull plating. Captain Vex of the Galactic Academy training vessel, Zenith felt his two hearts skip a beat as the distress signal flooded their communications array. Captain, we're receiving a priority 1 distress call from the surface of Kepler 442b, reported Navigation Officer Kell, his scaled fingers dancing across the holographic interface. It's coming from a human vessel. Vex's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Humans were still relatively new to the Galactic Federation, having joined only 50 standard years ago. Their tendency toward reckless exploration and questionable survival tactics had already become legend among the Academy instructors. Set course for the planet, Vex ordered, and prepare the medical bay. Knowing humans, they've probably poisoned themselves trying to eat something toxic. The Zenith dropped out of hyperspace near the edge of the Kepler system, its hull gleaming silver against the backdrop of distant stars. 23 cadets from 12 different species crowded the observation deck, eager to witness their first real rescue mission. Cadet Rin, a young Alterran with crystalline skin that shifted colors with her emotions, pressed her face against the viewport. "Look at that planet," she whispered. "The atmospheric readings show it's barely within the habitable zone. How could anything survive down there?" Her classmate, Cadet Burrow from the ice world of Glacius Prime, nodded agreement. His thick, insulated hide was already beginning to sweat in what he considered the unbearably warm ship's atmosphere. "The temperature variance is extreme. Our survival protocols would require full environmental suits and emergency shelters." The rescue shuttle descended through Kepler 442b's atmosphere, revealing a harsh landscape of jagged mountains, dense forests, and sprawling deserts. The distress beacon led them to a crash site in a valley between 2 towering peaks. What they found defied all expectations. The human vessel, a small exploration craft called Pioneer's Dream, lay crumpled against a rocky outcropping. Its hull was breached in 3 places, and the life support systems had clearly failed days ago. According to standard Galactic Federation survival protocols, anyone aboard should have been dead within hours. But as the rescue team approached, they heard something impossible. Laughter. The sound emerged from a crude shelter constructed near the wreckage. What appeared to be animal hides stretched between salvaged metal struts created a rough but effective windbreak. Smoke rose from a fire pit, carrying the scent of cooking meat. "This can't be right," muttered Chief Medical Officer Tran, a 4-armed Mexan whose species had evolved in sterile cave systems. "The atmospheric composition shows trace toxins. The temperature dropped below freezing last night, and there's no apparent source of potable water." Captain Vex approached the shelter cautiously, his hand resting on his emergency beacon. "Hello? This is Captain Vex of the Galactic Academy vessel Zenith. We received your distress signal." A figure emerged from the shelter, and the entire rescue team took an involuntary step backward. The human was covered in dirt and what appeared to be dried blood. His clothing was torn and patched with materials clearly scavenged from the crashed ship. His hair was matted, his beard unkempt, and his hands were stained dark with soot and other substances. Yet he was smiling. "Oh, hey there," the human said cheerfully, wiping his hands on what had once been a uniform jacket. "Name's Tom Brady. Thanks for coming, though I was starting to think I might have to walk out of here myself." Dr. Tran immediately began scanning the human with his medical tricorder, the device emitting increasingly frantic beeping sounds. "This is impossible," he muttered. "According to these readings, you should be suffering from severe dehydration, malnutrition, and toxic exposure." Tom glanced down at the device with mild interest. "Oh, that thing probably doesn't know what to make of me. I've been drinking water from that stream over there after boiling it, and I caught some of those rabbit-looking things yesterday. Taste pretty good once you get the hang of cooking them over an open fire." The assembled cadets exchanged horrified glances. Cadet Rin's crystalline skin shifted to a sickly yellow-green color. You consumed unprocessed organic matter from an alien ecosystem without proper chemical analysis? Sure did, Tom replied, gesturing toward the fire pit where something was currently roasting on a makeshift spit. Had to eat something. The emergency rations went bad on day 2 when the cooling system failed. This statement caused an immediate uproar among the rescue team. Emergency rations were designed to remain stable for decades in any environment. The very concept of spoiled emergency rations was so foreign that several species didn't even have words for it. Impossible, declared Chief Engineer Kix, whose silicon-based physiology allowed him to survive in environments that would instantly kill most organic life. Federation emergency rations are chemically stable in temperatures ranging from absolute 0 to 3,000 degrees. Tom shrugged. Well, they started smelling funny and growing this green fuzzy stuff, so I tossed them. Figured fresh meat was probably safer anyway. The rescue team spent the next several hours documenting what they found at the crash site, each discovery more bewildering than the last. Tom had constructed not just shelter, but an entire temporary settlement. He had dug a pit for waste disposal, created tools from salvaged metal, and even built what appeared to be a primitive water filtration system using materials from the ship's damaged environmental processors. Most shocking of all was the meat pit. Tom had dug a deep hole, lined it with stones, and created what he called a smoker to preserve extra food. The alien creatures he had caught and butchered hung in neat rows, slowly curing in the smoke. This preservation method is completely unsterile, Dr. Tran observed, his medical training warring with the evidence before his eyes. By all rights, this should be crawling with dangerous pathogens. Seems fine to me, Tom said, tearing off a piece of the smoked meat and chewing it thoughtfully. My grandfather taught me this trick back on Earth. Works on pretty much anything with meat on its bones. As the rescue team prepared to depart, Captain Vex found himself struggling to complete his official report. According to every protocol, in the Galactic Federation Survival Manual, the humans should have died within the first day. Instead, he had not only survived, but appeared to be thriving. The cadets gathered in the ship's common area that evening, their usual post-mission debriefing, turning into an exercise in existential questioning. I don't understand, said Cadet Burrow, still shivering despite the ship's optimal temperature controls. My people require precisely controlled atmospheric conditions and pre-processed nutrition. How did he survive on raw alien meat and unfiltered water? Cadet Rin, her skin now a thoughtful shade of deep blue, consulted her datapad. I've been researching human evolutionary history. Apparently, their species developed on a world with wildly varying climates and limited technology. They learned to adapt to almost any environment using only primitive tools and local resources. But that's barbaric, protested Cadet Zim. Centauran, whose species had eliminated hunger and environmental hardship millennia ago. Civilized beings don't dig holes in the ground and burn organic matter for sustenance. In his quarters, Captain Vex stared at his unfinished report, trying to find the words to explain what they had witnessed. The human had violated every principle of modern survival science, yet had emerged healthier and happier than most beings would be after a luxury vacation. The man had literally made friends with an alien wilderness, treating the crashed ship not as a disaster, but as an opportunity to practice skills his species had developed over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. While the academies, emergency protocols focused on maintaining familiar conditions until rescue arrived, the human had immediately begun adapting to his new environment. As the Zenith jumped back into hyperspace, carrying Tom Brady toward the nearest Federation medical facility for what would undoubtedly be a series of bewildering examinations, Captain Vex made a note in his personal log. Perhaps it was time for the Galactic Academy to add a new course to their survival training curriculum: primitive adaptation techniques of pre-spaceflight civilizations. After all, when the most advanced emergency systems in the galaxy failed, sometimes the oldest solutions worked best. The human had proven that while other species had evolved beyond their primitive survival instincts, humans had simply refined theirs. They didn't just survive hostile environments. They made themselves at home in them. Tom Brady slept peacefully in the medical bay that night, dreaming of his next adventure, while 23 cadets lay awake wondering if their own species. Technological dependence might actually be a weakness rather than strength. In the end, the primitive human had taught the galaxy's best and brightest a lesson they would never forget. Sometimes, the most sophisticated survival tool is the ability to thrive with nothing but your wits and the willingness to get your hands dirty.